Overcoming the fear of failure. How can you overcome it? That is exactly what you're going to learn in this video. So make sure you stay to the end so that you get all the most important points, because the last one is the most important by far, and you need to understand it to overcome any fear. Any fear. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. I love these little acronyms. They give it purpose. They give it meaning. And when we give something meaning, that's the meaning it has, because nothing actually has meaning until we give it meaning. And that's how fear starts. If you look at a dog and you're scared of dogs, the reason you're scared of dogs is because you give the meaning to the dog that the dog is scary. The dog isn't necessarily scary, but we have a wire in our mind to say, I need to protect you, that is scary, get out of here. Now, if you want to understand any more on fears specifically, go and check out this video up here, because I dive into fears, but also you can check out this video up here, really diving into fears again. I'm here to help you release those fears in an instant, and I can do that. I can help you do that very quickly. So if you do want that, make sure you head over to my website or drop me a message so that we can have a free quantum reading. Effectively, those two acronyms, forget everything and run, or face everything and rise, have such powerful meaning. Now, that is our choice, what we choose to do in the state of fear. Let me tell you a story. I used to be possibly one of the most fearful people of everything. Everything from asking someone out on a date, to asking for a raise, to getting a different job because I didn't know what to do, to having social anxiety, to being scared of everything and everyone, to not doing anything and getting to the point where I had such bad social anxiety that I didn't want to leave the house, to turning that around 360, doing what I want to do, traveling across the world on my own, doing ayahuasca in mountains with shamans who I don't actually know, and just truly living. Now, don't get me wrong, there's things that I'm still scared to do, and I am petrified of certain things. But in that face of fear, this is how I now approach it, and this is how you will be able to approach this after this video, and if you choose to work with me as well. When fear appears, I don't forget everything and run. My immediate reaction now, never used to be, my immediate reaction now is to face it head on and go into this fear. Because when I go into the fear, what happens is I start to break down the old programming to say I am scared, and start to give myself a new programming to say, okay, so when this happens, that happens. And it's sort of like a cause and effect, where if you've ever heard of anchoring, if you haven't, check this video out after this video, about when you press an anchor in your body, a physical anchor, you can elicit some sort of emotion so that we can feel something of confidence, happiness, or joy. When I feel scared, my immediate reaction is, how can I face this? What do I need to do? How do I need to go into this? Or it never used to be like that. So I'm like you right now if you're watching this, because you clearly want to overcome fear, and I used to be like that, but now I'm not. So imagine what you can do. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to hopefully inspire you that you can make these shifts, because you can, and it's really not that difficult. I can show you exactly how to do it. So step number one is about being real with yourself, like no BS, like be real. What are you actually scared of? Understand who you are. What are you actually scared of? We must know this first, because when we know this, we can take step one. And I always use this analogy. If you are dropped in the middle of a random country, and you need to get to London. First of all, you need to know where you are, because you need to figure out where you are, which flight to get, or which taxi to get to the airport, which airport you need to get to. You need to know where you are to get to the first airport, to then fly to London airport, to then get to London. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, I need to know where I want to be. Yes, we need to know where we want to be, but also we've got to be real with ourselves and say, where am I right now? What am I scared of right now? What freaks me out? And then obviously the next and the second most important part is, who do I want to become? We need to know that. Who in your eyes is the type of fearlessness you want? Maybe you don't want fearlessness in regards to jumping off buildings and parachuting and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you don't want that level of fearlessness. Maybe you just want to be able to not have the anxiety around people. Maybe you want to speak on stage in front of people. Maybe you do want to go and do shark diving. I don't know. You might have that I want to do that. I would love to do that now. It would absolutely enthrall me with adrenaline. I would love it. So once you figured out where you are, start with the second step. So go on step number 2. Be willing to start with the small things in life that you can fail at. Because essentially what you need to do is you need to actually face failure. If you've never faced failure, you can't understand it to a real level. It's like saying to someone who lives in Antarctica, how good is the sun in, or 45-degree sun, or 35-degree sun? They're like, I don't know, it might be all right. They'd probably, they'd immediately say I would hate it because they've never experienced it. Or they would say I would love it because they've never experienced it. Until they experience it, they can't actually decipher how it would be. So when they decide to actually go and experience it, they experience failure. So their son is your failure. You experience the failure, then you can really decide how does that actually make you feel. And initially, it may hurt. It won't hurt forever, but it may hurt initially, and that's okay. It's perfectly okay. Because we need to begin to change what it means. So face failure and start with small things. And the best way you can do this is to turn it into a game. Let's say you want to connect with more people. This is exactly what I did. I called it the sauna experiment when I was, I think 18 or 19. I would go into saunas. This is when I had really bad social anxiety. I would go into saunas and I would sit there, and sometimes I wouldn't say a word because I was petrified. When I would start to pluck up the courage, I would be like, "Are you all right?" And I'd just try and start a conversation. My fear was social anxiety. How did I overcome it? I started to try and talk to people. Naturally, people want to talk to you back, but sometimes people just don't want to start the conversation. So I left that to me to say, okay, so I've got to start this conversation, which then led to a lot of great conversations and a lot of good connections. Some of them I still speak to now. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and that bell icon if you're enjoying this video so that you get notified whenever I post. So face your fears head on, but start with the small ones. Like I said, I didn't actively go up to people on the streets. I went into a place, the sauna, where people would actively come in. So it was kind of like, I kind of hacked it at the end of the day. I didn't go and do the most scary thing at that point. I didn't run before I could walk. I always say, take the first step before you take step 10. If you have social anxiety and you want to speak on stage, step 1 is not to speak on stage. Step 1 is to reduce the amount of anxiety that you feel and start to understand language skills. Start to understand how people work. Don't start with speaking on stage because you're not, in my opinion, ready. Like, if you want to do it, go for it, jump in the deep end. But if you want a more logical way, then start where you're at and be willing to take the next step, because everything in life is a process. From building a business to getting your dream body to building a house. You can't just put a whole house down. You have to put it brick by brick. Unless you're an American, you use wooden houses. Step number 3, cut out the first definition of failure from your dictionary because it means lack of success. It's not a lack of success. If anything, you're actually one step closer to your success. How do you grow muscles in the gym? You work out your arms. Let's say you're doing arms, you're doing biceps, you work them out until eventually they deplete, they tear, they rip, they hurt, then they grow. How do you grow a tree? You plant a seed one day, you water it, you let it get sunlight, you water it. You don't expect it to happen overnight. You know it's going to happen eventually because you're doing what needs to be done. If you know the process works, the process works. If you follow a recipe that works, you're going to get a similar outcome to Gordon Ramsay if you follow his recipe, because you're using the same ingredients. That is exactly how life works. So change your definition of the word failure from a lack of success to one step closer to success. Because if you give up now, that's a failure. That's a failure if you stop, because that is the lack of success. But if you continue on until you get the results, then that's not a failure at all. That is just a road bump that is going to be there. It is literally like going on a journey in your car, coming across some traffic and just having to sit in that traffic. When you're in traffic, sometimes you are literally standstill doing nothing. You're not even moving forwards. So of course you're going to feel a bit impatient. Of course we're going to feel this way, that way, forwards and backwards over the Irish Sea. Of course you're going to feel something because you don't want to be there. That's understandable. But change the definition from lack of success to one step closer to, put it in the comments below. Put it in the comments below. One step closer to what? One step closer to what? Remember this, know this, you got this. Because Thomas Edison created the light bulb. Now, I'm not going to go into the politics behind it because he didn't, Nikola Tesla did. He stole it from Tesla, which I don't like because I like Tesla. And I don't like the way Thomas Edison did it, but that's not the point. If you want me to dive into that specifically in a video, let me know in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to do that. I'm not going to dive into it now because there's a lot of information. But Thomas Edison failed 999 times. Some people say it's 9,999. Some people say 999. I'm not sure which is the right answer, but it's 9999 or 999. I'm not sure. It's one of the two. He failed that many times, but his 1,000th or 10,000th try, he succeeded and found the answer to the light bulb. I'm not going to go into the politics, but you can tell I want to. If he would have given up after 999 tries, he would have never found it. Never. What if I said to you, the partner of your dreams is going to be the 37th person you speak to starting now? How quickly are you going to get from 1 to 36 and then find 37? You're going to do it pretty quickly. Why? Because you've got leverage. What if I told you that the third business you start is going to reach £1 million? You're going to start the first 2 businesses as quick as possible, whereas, oh, this isn't the business I want to do. Let's move on to the next. Oh, this isn't the business I want to do. Let's move on to the next. Oh, this business is magically succeeding. If I told you that, your leverage is there to put all of that work into it and just go with it right now, right here. So sort of moving back to the first point is you don't believe in yourself enough. You need to believe, man. You need to believe, or woman. You need to believe in yourself that this is the process that is going to work. And this process does work. I can guarantee, I promise you, it's science. It does work. You can remove fears very quickly because it's just an emotional connection. But the fourth and most important part, and I did explain this in the start, so I'm going to drop this like a fart. And I'm going to tell you my birth chart. And all of this information is coming from my heart. Real talk. But all seriousness, we need to face fear head on. When you face your fear, eventually it will disappear. It won't disappear like that, but it will eventually disappear. So if you want to face your fears, if you truly want to overcome the comfort zone, you truly want to outstep who you used to be, face your fears now. And you will be able to create a whole new life. And if you want to do that, make sure you send me a message and schedule in a quantum reading with me so that we can go from where you are, know where you want to be, and I can be that bridge. And if I am that bridge, I will take you along that process. Or send me a message on Instagram, it's totally up to you. But other than that, make sure you subscribe.